So you started acting as a child, correct? And you moved out to Los Angeles to pursue that?
Yes, I started acting when I was 9.5. But if I had had my way, I would have been acting much sooner than that. I was that kid who just wouldn't stop hounding her parents to let her try acting, and they wouldn't let me until I was 9. And yeah, we moved out to Los Angeles, my mom and I, when I was 14. I mean, that was way further out after I got a show and moved here.
So you moved here because you had a role on a show?
Yes.
Do you remember, was that your first professional role that you booked?
I did a lot of commercials. I did like a commercial a month. And then I got an episode of Sex and the City when I was 13. And that was Michael Patrick King, who's now my boss. And then I got like a pilot, and it shot in LA, and that's what moved me out. And I ended up just staying here. It just all stacked up.
Do you remember how you got your SAG card?
Oh my God. I do remember it was, I got my SAG card doing extra work, and it was a nightmare. And so when I say I've paid my dues, I've really paid my dues. I mean, I did like triple overtime and like going up the stairs with a backpack and like a Diet Cola commercial like in New Jersey, it was the worst. I think it was like 3 credits or something to get your SAG card, and I just did a bunch of extra work. It was the worst, but it worked out sort of.
So as a child, did you do a lot of acting classes and training, or did you pretty much learn what you know on the job?
I didn't have any training. We didn't really have a lot of money for like the kind of stuff that like fancy kids had. So, I had this manager whose husband was an acting teacher, and he had this like shady acting school that it was like if you signed with this lady, you had to take an acting class or like take classes at his school. So I took one class, and it was not my bag. It just wasn't my bag. We had to do the thing where you like get on the floor and you have to be like a tree, and I was like, what does this have to do with film and cinema? Like, what does this have to do with anything? I just hated it. Again, I was 9, so I'm not going to discount anything, but that kind of did it. I was done with those after that, and I just, admittedly, if you go back in time and watch my earliest thing, I'm not very good, but I like the idea of learning as you go and learning from directors. That's who I like to take advice from, are directors and other actors.
Can you think of something memorable that you've learned from a director?
Yeah, it was almost, Kenneth Branagh was the director of the first Thor movie, so that was an amazing experience, just to be around him, just watch him. I learned so much just from watching that man, just from watching him walk around and talk to people. He didn't even teach me a specific thing, but just watching him exist was a lesson in itself. But he was very big on, before we would shoot anything, reminding us how we feel, reminding us what just happened, talking in depth about what's about to happen, how we're all feeling separately, and it makes you examine your character more deeply and not just phone things in.
Do you have a way that you typically prepare for your character?
It depends what kind of character I'm preparing for, but I usually, if it's a film or something, I like to make like a folder on my computer with images or things that kind of evoke a feeling that make me feel like that person, or I make playlists of songs I think that person would listen to, or weird little character ticks like that, like different perfume that I think maybe they'd wear, just like little things to make me feel like a different person. And then I kind of revisit that every night or every morning before I go to work.
Since you started as a child, did you find that it was difficult to transition from child to adult actor?
It was difficult to transition from just a child to an adult. Like, I don't think I'm even an adult yet. It's so hard just growing up in any way, that being an actor on top of it is just, it's just so much. Although in some ways it might even be easier depending on what kind of kid you are. Like, I was a very dramatic, theatrical kid who just was a weirdo, and I wasn't very social, like, with other kids. I liked being with adults. So for me, it was the ideal place to grow up and like the right spot for me. Because much like acting class, I was homeschooled, but I went to regular school for one day and I couldn't handle it. So I'm just a person who needs a lot of structure in a certain way, but I can't handle like structure for a long time, which is why acting is perfect.
So, is auditioning something that you're pretty comfortable with? Does it still make you nervous?
I love auditioning. I've been offered roles before, and as amazing and flattering as that is, and that's one of the luxuries of working so hard for so long. I don't feel like I really deserve something unless I've auditioned or unless I've done some kind of work toward it, but of course auditioning is humiliating and upsetting, and you just feel like you're gonna die like every second, and sometimes it's great and you feel really proud of yourself, and sometimes it is just mortifying and it ruins your week. Like you just, and it's on tape forever. Someone's going to watch it and laugh at you. I mean, everyone has a nightmare audition story, but I still really like it. It's part of the job.
Do you have a nightmare audition story?
Every audition story I've had is a nightmare audition story. I mean, I've had okay, so I did a screen test with a very famous actor and a very famous director who I will name not any of them. And the scene was to play the actor's daughter. And he was supposed to be holding me and like restraining me, and I was supposed to be yelling and crying at him. So he's, the director's sitting like over there, and the actor is supposed to be with me, reading the scene with me, because it's the screen test, like to play his daughter. So the guy backs to the very corner of the room, like as far away from me as humanly possible. And I quickly realized that I'm going to have to do the scene with him over there. And I realized that I'm going to have to act like I'm being restrained by him and crying and yelling at him without him touching me or anywhere near me. So that's what happened. So he was in a corner with his pages, like not even looking at me, and I had to like pretend I was being like restricted and like screaming and crying. It was horrible. It was the worst. It was so bad. And at the end, he like came over and shook my hand, and I was like, ugh, thanks for nothing. But he was recast, so it's okay.
Do you have anything that you wish you'd known when you started acting? Any tips for actors?
Things that I wish I'd known. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And it's you just have to remember why you want to do it and just keep that with you, because at times you will just not want to do it anymore because you won't get stuff. There'll be long periods where you don't get stuff and you feel bad about yourself. And maybe you're doing something and you feel like you're doing a terrible job, but it's not true. You just have to keep going, commit yourself to it, and if you're really going to do it, just say goodbye to any kind of personal life, because birthdays, anything, out the window. You just have to really keep your blinders on and go for it.